Be bold and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Even in 2025, that message still applies. And when you hear it, you know who we're ready to talk to. John Hope Bryant, CEO of Operation Hope. It's Financial Literacy Month, so we got to check in. You're in an enterprise zone at the Nasdaq. Hello, everyone. It's Jabari Young here at the Nasdaq MarketSite, and I am joined by John Hope Bryant, CEO of Operation Hope, platform that obviously promotes financial literacy, credit awareness, also an author of like a plethora of books, right? And then you have a podcast.
A Forbes Black 50?
Yeah, so a BLK 50 member, man. Money and Wealth podcast, always promoting financial dignity. John, thank you so much for making the trip, man. As always, I'd love to see you.
Honored to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, man, are you writing another book in 2025? Can we expect another one's coming out later on this year?
My publisher's trying to get me to do two.
Yeah. Two this year?
Well, I'm going to write two this year. One might be, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self on financial literacy, which will be an easy one to write if I do it. The big book that I would write this year was Inclusive Economics.
Right. Yeah.
And then in 2 years, I'm going to write a book called The Bridging of an Unhealed America.
Wow, man. Yeah. So you already got it in. Can I do one of the forwards for these things?
You can do whatever you want. You're Jabari Young.
I mean, listen, I got to ask. It's your book, man. You know what I mean? But hey, listen, as always, again, first of all, thank you so much and welcome as a new advisory member to the BLK platform, Forbes BLK, man. Definitely look forward to your insight, look forward to your help leader, man. And so it's been great. I mean, me and you have known each other now for years, right? Met back in Alabama, talking in Atlanta about all of this stuff, and here we are sitting. So it's always a privilege to see you, man. Always a privilege. Thank you so much.
You guys make me proud. I mean, you guys just do it right.
Thank you.
You're not a group of black leaders. You're a group of great leaders who happen to be black and brown, and you're producing and showing the green, which I really love.
Yeah, well, so following your lead.
You're all about excellence.
Yeah, following your lead. Well, listen, we're at the Nasdaq MarketSite, so I always love to get your opinion on a stock, something that's worked well for you, maybe over the last year, something you're looking to buy. NVIDIA, right? Delta Airlines, I know you're a Delta guy. Wells Fargo, like what's up?
I think in these times you want to stick to fundamentals.
It's fundamentals.
You want to what's the stuff that's like the anchors for a society and economy.
Yeah, Procter and Gamble and P&G.
I love Walmart. I love, I love Apple. These are not. It's not obvious. I mean, it's not mind blowing stuff.
Yeah.
I love stuff that you use every day. That no matter whether the economy's up or down, or the stock market is in or out, or whoever the president is, whatever, you're going to involve yourself in those kinds of companies and their kind of products. And in times when times are sketchy, you want to flight to quality. Like you don't want to be caught over here doing crazy cryptocurrency stuffs and
You're not a believer in cryptocurrency?
Look, I mean, to a certain degree, digital money today, for the last 10 years we've had currency that's digital currency.
Right.
So I mean, we all swipe a card. Cryptocurrency is gambling. It's not investing. It's gambling, and there's no assets underneath it. A billionaire friend of mine was at the Milken conference speaking, and somebody asked him about, this guy's worth $15 billion. What do you think about crypto? He said, if somebody could tell me why the price goes up and why the price goes down, I'll buy some.
Well, it's a scarcity thing, right?
And
not mining so much of it.
No. Look, it's just, Bitcoin itself is a separate thing, and I love blockchain technology, by the way. But people don't know, there were almost 20,000 cryptocurrencies. In the last 10 years or less, most of them went poof. They just went away. And most people are trying to get a cryptocurrency to cash it out for cash. Yeah. They want cryptocurrency, then what they really want at the end of the day is cash. So it's like, look, I'm not down on cryptocurrency. I'm just saying don't use your rent money to go buy some. It's gambling, it's speculation. You can go to New York, you can go to Las Vegas and hit really big, or you can understand that Las Vegas keeps getting bigger. With every flight, it keeps getting bigger. House always wins. So you might be one of the people who hit, you might get hit on the head. I don't want you to get hit on the head. The biggest population buying cryptocurrency are African Americans.
Yeah.
And because of a lot of reasons, but a lot of these promoters feed on our emotions. And whenever you make an emotional decision, it's a bad one.
Yeah.
So my wife owns some. She did well with Bitcoin. but she's got me. If things go south of the border with her, she knows she can rely on me. So take 5%, 10% of your portfolio and speculate. And if you want to speculate on crypto, God bless you. Yeah. Fantastic. You might do extraordinarily well. People walk up to me all day, I do great with crypto. That's great. Right? Do you own a house? do you own a blue chip stock portfolio? Yeah. Do you have some bonds? Do you have some, get the basics in place and then go do that other stuff.
Most definitely. Every time we talk, man, again, financial literacy is always a theme. And
real estate, by the way.
All real estate.
That's my cornerstone.
Absolutely. You could touch it, but I never asked you your worst money management advice. Like, what's the worst?
I'll tell you the worst thing I did. Not money management advice. I'll tell you a mistake. I hit big since I saw you last. It was about 2 years ago, right? And
last year. It was last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah, right here. The
book.
Boy, this financial literacy for all
moves fast.
Absolutely does.
So last year, yeah, I lost big in the last year, and I hit big in the last 18 months. So just to tell you the power of real estate, I bought some real estate in a foreign country on the beach. I wasn't intended for it to go up. It was a lifestyle move that was secured. That thing doubled. Now,
the 1 million you talk about?
Yeah, it doubled. Yeah. It doubled. Wow. And I don't know any legal, legitimate, asset secured investment. Now, it's not going to double again, but there was a moment where, I bought it for X and it was X times 100. So, or, X times 80 is almost double. So that was a really smart move I made. And if you buy real estate, in all likelihood, if it's near jobs, near transportation, near activity, it's just going to go up in value. So don't wait. And I'm a landlord now, so I shouldn't be encouraging people to rent, but I want you to go from rent to own. Right. But let me tell you about my mistake since I saw you. So I sold a company 2 years ago, and I wanted to put some money away into something that was safe. I didn't need to go up. I didn't need to do extraordinary. I just needed to not deplete. It was like a safety valve. So I'll tell you the number. I put $3.5 million into the market. And I'll tell you when it was. It was January 2022. And I put it with one of the best money managers you could imagine, like family office kind of a company. And in 4 months, it went from 3.5 balance to 3. So what I always tell people is, don't sell. Oh. If you buy well, keep it. Don't sell. Don't get freaked out. Don't be emotional. What did I do?
Was emotional.
I was emotional, sort of. I wasn't trying to make money.
Right.
And, if it'd be different if the market had gone up and, had gone up to 3.5. I was in it for 2.5 basis. It went down to 3. Okay, but it's, this is house money. This was my money, right? And it went down to 3. I lost $500,000. I said, move me to cash. Move me to treasuries, bonds, cash equivalents, U.S. Treasury bills. So they did that. And what happened? So I asked my guys this year. I asked them in February. So that's out of curiosity. What happened with that portfolio? They tracked it. They said, well, you would have lost another $250,000. Right?
But there's a but coming.
There's a but. So I'd gone down $750. If I just done nothing, this is the power of this place, the power of markets. If I had done nothing, Jabari, just let it sit there, I would have returned the $750. It would have repaired itself, and then it went up another $750.
So take 2 steps back, move 3 steps forward in a way.
Yeah. It's just the power of compounding.
Right. But you go down, so you take a loss, but then if you wait, you get that gain back.
Well, what I keep saying to people is, there's 3 things that have never gone down in American history. Real estate values, stock market values, and GDP. Yeah. They go up, and people will say, Washington, go, wait a minute, no, what about a recession? Yep, they go up. Listen, recession, it recedes. Recession, not depression, it recedes. Take a breath, because poor people sell on loss. We get freaked out, and then it corrects above the line. Right. Every time.
All the time. Yeah.
So you just want to hold on. If you made a good investment, if it's flaky stuff, you may want to get rid of it. But if you bet on Jabari Young, just hold on to it.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I like to say I've returned my investment, return on investment.
Whatever woman bets on Jabari Young is going to be doing pretty good.
Hey, man, listen, as always, I got to check in with Operation Hope. It's the latest. We always talk about 1 million black businesses, the plan, the initiative you have with Shopify. I believe it's over $130 million commitment now. It's about $160 million or something like that, 190?
No, it's $190 million.
190 million.
They were $130 million after George Floyd's murder.
Yeah. And then recently came in at $60 million.
In December, they put up another $60 million. Toby Lutke, the founder, and Harley Finkelstein, the president, in particular.
And this one didn't show up in your junk folder.
You know that story.
Yeah, it didn't show up in your junk folder, right?
No, it wasn't my junk folder.
Okay.
Did the audience know that story?
The audience knows the story. Of course, everybody knows the story. I tell them all the time, check your junk folder. Yeah. Even when people say, I haven't received an email, I say, did you check your junk folder?
Right.
And behold, there it is.
And be gracious. Like I could have assumed, to assume is to make an ASS out of you and me. I could have assumed that guy, Toby, was disingenuous or negative or whatever and just didn't respond to me.
Right.
Or I could have taken an attitude that he just said no. What I assumed was that he was busy and that he hadn't thought about doing anything for black business until I raised it to him. And he said, graciously, send me something. He had no obligation to say yes to me. So a week had passed and I was like, yo, man, I sent him a note. Yo, man, you're still my brother. We're going to do something else down the road. Thanks for considering it. I understand I didn't hear back from you that you're not interested. And his response was, what are you talking about? I said, yes.
Yep.
And it was my fault. So talk without being offensive, listen without being defensive, and always leave even your adversary with their dignity, because if you don't, they'll spend the rest of their life working to make you miserable. It becomes personal. Step over mess, not in it. So I was the idiot there, not them. He had done his part. So it was a 2-line email. We're in, right? 130 million. So then in December of last year, and the timing is important, they recommitted at our Hope Global Forum another 60 million on top of the 130 million. Lance Triggs, who's here, who's our president of all programs at Operation Hope, he runs that program. He's staff co-chair for 1MBB. They doubled down and created a commitment of 190 million by 2030 to create 1 million black businesses.
Where are you guys at now?
About 450,000, although Lance will probably correct me, say it's more than that, but 450,000 businesses that have been started, supported, advanced by us.
Are that many still in business now, or some?
I don't know if they're still in business.
But they were started, 450.
Started, supported, nurtured. The reason I say that is, you could have a restaurant and start an e-restaurant. You don't have to start an e-commerce business. You could have an existing business. We could have just improved your existing business with a credit enhancement called e-commerce. But with us, you get this $25,000 package we do at 1MBB. You get a domain name search, domain name secured. You get a website. You get a payment system, a delivery system. You get an e-commerce site from Shopify for 6 months for $1 a month. You get all the back end. You get financing after your first sale, they'll finance your second one. You get a small business plan from Operation Hope. You get credit score support. You get 2 hours with an attorney, 2 hours with an accountant. You get support from Shopify's team on e-commerce and so on and so forth. So we're about $25,000 for each small business. Anyway, so I asked Harley, why? Like this recently, you are paying attention to the environment, right? So I wasn't going to change the name, but I at least was being gracious. Like, do you need me to make some adjustments? No. The only adjustment I need you to make is take this $2 million for your administrative expenses. Excuse me? Yeah, and I need this to report to me. Excuse me. Yeah, and here's my chief of staff, and she's going to be the one that Lance reports to. Okay, what's up? He's like, this is fantastic for us. We have X number of small businesses that are black, let's call it 3%. We want 10% of small businesses that are black of Shopify. Yeah. It's business development for us. Well, it's the right thing to do, it feels good, but the conversion rate they're discovering of folks who came on and stayed on, went from free to fee as a successful business, was off the charts for them. They could find nothing else that had this conversion rate, so they wanted to double down on it, and that's what I want. That's what, I was on a show with my brother Roland Martin 3 years ago, and some callers came in, his callers, why is Shopify doing this? What's the deal, John? I said, they want customers. And so I was like, you don't want a handout, you want a hand up. Like, and I said to them, so do you want charity? Oh, no. Or do you want me to teach you how to fish? And then do you want to become the fisherman?
Yeah.
So I think it's really progress because this is about the green. And this is my whole argument about inclusive economics and why I think DEI was designed with good intentions, but it was designed emotionally. And as a result of that, it became really easy to attack.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because you said in that email that, Shopify, the CEO, the co-founder, Toby, was telling you, make no changes. Were you shocked at that? Because you've been very vocal about companies dropping diversity, making changes to the DEI because of the political environment we're in. We just had the MLB commissioner sitting right where you're at, and Rob was saying how
he's great.
Rob is phenomenal.
They're helping us with Green Sox Day.
What they had to do, right, to make sure that their programs are not targeted, and they had to drop the word diversity. If you would have had to make changes, would you have done it?
No.
No.
I mean, the color is green. That's what I keep saying. It's not black or white, or red or blue. It's green.
Yeah.
At least in the U.S., and it's always been green. Look, slavery was about money. Real talk. Nobody went halfway around the world to drag you and me, our descendants, all the way over here because they didn't like us.
Yeah.
Just the opposite.
Yeah.
We were agricultural geniuses. We understood the land. We knew how to take dead land, dead soil, overburned, overheated, worn out, oversaturated with crop rotations, and we knew how to bring that soil back to life in Africa. So the southern soil with all the humidity and all of the heat was very similar, but that's where the cash crops were. That's where the cotton was. That's where the tobacco was and all the crops of those days, which was like gold. Half of all exports in America in the 1840s was cotton. So this country literally depended on these crops, but they couldn't get Europeans to work that soil and to turn those crops into gold. Only we could do that. So, but they had to sort of get the self-esteem out of us. They didn't want our attitude. They didn't want all that energy. They just wanted us to be mechanical. So I think we still have self-esteem issues to this day as descendants of American slaves because of that experience. We have high confidence, many of us, but low self-esteem. Yeah. But my point is, that was bad capitalism. So we tend to reject capitalism because we think it's all bad capitalism. No, there's bad capitalism and there's good capitalism. Bad capitalism is where I benefit and you pay a price for it.
Right.
Slavery. It's like drug dealing. There's a whole bunch of examples. Good capitalism is where I benefit and you benefit more. A hair comb, a shave, Shopify, everybody wins. There's good debt and there's bad debt, right? Bad debt's tied to something that depreciates. Financing jewelry.
Yeah.
Good debt's tied to something that may appreciate. Homeownership and real estate. And no one ever taught us these lessons, man. We're not dumb and we're not stupid. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. But we're making a lot of assumptions and presumptions. I'm on these programs, and a lot of these programs are live, so, John Bryant, talking about home ownership. I don't want to buy no house. If I own the house, the bank owns the house. If you don't pay, right? And as long as you pay, look, if I loan you the money and you don't pay, I'm gonna own your house.
It's John Hope Bryant's house.
So, and by the way, I am I was the largest minority owner of single-family rental homes in America. I own, this company, the Promise Homes Company. I sold most of the company. I'm still a major shareholder, but so I should be in the rental business. I want you to go from rent to own. I want you to own a piece of the American pie. I want you to go up the ladder. But that person all they saw was the mortgage. They didn't know that the entire tax policy for the United States is arranged around home ownership.
Yeah, real estate. Yeah.
The entire tax policy.
Yeah. Yeah. People, man, they know your story. Listen, John, you're a superstar now in our community, right? You look up and you're everywhere. Yes, that's not true, man. You look at you're on Stephen A's show, you're on Shannon Sharp and you're all those guys. And
Charlemagne.
so
because there are other guests canceled.
Yeah. That's not true.
You had Robert Smith up coming here. He had to go to Canada, so you got me.
No, stop that. But I mean, listen, man, for those people who don't know, you grew up in LA, and Compton. I always love to allow people to return to their past, right? And before I do that, I know your mom passed away not too long ago, and I'm sure you get up every single morning and you think about her. What's the one thing that maybe she taught you when you were a kid that you still apply today in business? God bless her life.
Sorry, you got me in a moment. My mother, Juanita Smith, was and is amazing. She told me she loved me every day of my life.
Yeah.
And from that I got there's a difference between being broke and being poor. You know, being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. And that's a quote I came up with for Operation Hope in 1992, but I got that spirit from my mother. My mother wasn't loved. My mother wasn't told she was loved by her mother and by her father, but she knew it was important to tell her child that he was loved. And so we were broke, but we weren't poor. And that differentiation made all the difference in the world for me. So my self-esteem from a very early age was raised up. And so today I'll say, it's okay if you don't like me, I like me. Because if I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you.
Yeah.
If I don't feel good about me, I'm not gonna feel good about you. If I don't respect me, I don't know how to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And then hope. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around, comes around. My mother told me to treat others as I wanna be treated. Don't treat them as they treat me. Treat them as I want to be treated. That's biblical. My mother and my father were rooted in the church, were rooted in spirituality. My mother was a walking testimony to dignity. And my mother always was about that Dorothy Heights quote. Dorothy Height told me one day that, John Bryant, you remind me of a dreamer with a shovel in your hands. So she was like, God helps those who help themselves. That's Proverbs. To be poor is not to not have anything. To be poor is not to not do anything. And lazy hands make a man poor. That's in Proverbs. No one talks about that part of the Bible. So my mother worked an hourly job for 32 years, McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, made $18 an hour at her height. She died a millionaire. So if anybody says I can't do it, no, yes you can. There's your example right there. She had worked an hourly job, she had a high school education, went back to school at age 62 and graduated from high school at 62, walked with cap and gown with 18-year-olds, no indignity there. Defied the odds, man, and had a will when she passed away. Her will was gangster. Her will had a clause and said anybody who disputes his will is denied it. Crickets, like no one said, normally it's a fight. Normally, it's a fight,
Yeah.
She put that clause there. Anybody who disputes the contents of this will is excluded from the will. And I mean, I was a trustee for it, so I was ready to defend her honor, and I didn't have to say a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, from the grave, my mother teaching. So she had a will, she had a life insurance policy, she bought and sold 7 homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing story.
Another thing, man, people don't really talk about when it comes to you is, again, your business side, right? We know you as a phenomenal motivator, a speaker, again, financial literacy, the dignity that comes behind it. But again, you sold Promise Homes, right? 2021, I believe,
Yeah,
you started that company.
Christmas Eve afternoon, 2021, wire transfer came through and I was in Taco Bell's checkout, the drive-through line.
What were you getting?
Ordering a number 3.
What was the number 3?
Hard shell.
Oh, the hard shell. I was gonna say, was it the
Taco
Chihuahua?
Supreme. It's either the 1 or the 3. It was the Taco Supreme.
So you get that call, man. Again, you sell that company and 700, plus homes that was in that company, 100 million plus in the assets.
121 million sale.
Your philosophy though was the rent to own strategy. That's what you kind of
And financial literacy.
And financial literacy.
And minority vendor program support.
Why that rent to own strategy? What made you go all in on that?
Because I want to be a good capitalist. Because I believe that good capitalism is better than bad capitalism. Because I need to live my values.
Yeah.
I don't know another way to operate. I can't go to bed at night knowing I jacked somebody up on purpose. Other people can. I can't do it. If I mess you over, it was an accident. Like I asked you to move out of the way, I was moving real fast. I begged you, I asked you, I'm coming, please get out of the way, and you just stood there. And I apologize. I came over at a million miles an hour because I'm heading that way. But you will never meet anybody who will consciously tell you that John Bryant screwed him over. And that's something I'm proud of, that, you know, I don't have a bunch of lawsuits, I don't have a bunch of drama tied to my name. When I walk out the door, people don't say but. You know, I respect that, John Bryant.
Yeah.
But, you know, I respect that, John Bryant, how he rose. But, so so personal integrity, but also just from a business philosophy, I thought that was just a great business plan. Everybody else is just rent to rent. Why not be rent to own, give people a pathway out? I'm the smallest player of institutional players. Like 700 Homes is the largest minority owner of single-family rental homes in America, but it's the smallest, one of the smallest institutional owners of single-family homes. And so in order to distinguish myself, I had to have a different model. I called it a social impact investing model. And that model attracted actually different kinds of capital. So I had financial literacy for every resident. Mm-hmm. You raise your credit score to 700 from 600, I'll reduce your rent by 10% permanently as long as you keep it above 700. If you pay the rent on time, I'll give you a $25 or a $50 credit. If you got in trouble, you were a renter for me for, I think it was 18 months. For every 18 months, I gave you 1 month of life event credit. So you were with me for 18 months, God forbid, Johnny gets sick, you lose your job, get a divorce, whatever, I will give you a month of life event credit with no rent. You can borrow your security deposit from me to cover that month's rent. For every 18 months, I give you 1 month of life event credit. So after 5 years, you have 90 days to reset your life. You can pay that back with a little paid tied to your rent over time, so you don't even feel it. These are little things.
That's a great stuff that you're doing, boy. That's why I was kind of confused why you sold the company, because that type of mindset is still needed. And I know you're still involved in your shareholder, but what was the decision to sell? And I only wanted to know because of entrepreneurs.
I'll tell you.
They want to get out of the business, right? The object is to build a business
and
sell it. Right,
I'm glad you said that.
Yes, build it and sell it. But
did you guys hear what he said? The whole purpose of businesses, this is Wall Street.
Yeah.
Your whole purpose is to build it
and sell it.
And have a liquidity moment to optimize it, to create a value proposition for yourself, and then go buy something else or build something else. One, if you go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south. As a boutique small business, I had taken it as far as I thought I could. So I had two partners with me. It was Tony Ressler and Michael Arrighetti, both billionaires, and they were like, "We love you, John, but we're not. We're as much as we can put into this," and in order to grow to the scale, I wanted to be $1 billion business. I was at $150 million of assets under management. I also had made a promise to my partners that in 5 years, I'd get you out. So we had reached year 3 or 4, and I needed to start thinking about the promise I made and the exit strategy. And then I got an offer I couldn't refuse. One of my partners said, you know, if you sell this company in a year, we'll give you again, I don't give in details, but an offer you can't refuse. And I restructured the company to attract additional capital. And it was all the stuff I was doing with residents. Mm-hmm. And by the way, half of my vendors were minority and women. So plumbing, heating, landscaping, roofing, lighting. I was able to reinvest in the community. So I felt really good about growing the business, and I wanted to grow it more so I could do more for people, but I had reached that ceiling. So it's time to cash out, reset, and I can't announce it just yet, but within 2 or 3 months, I'll come on your show. You'll be hearing about a new venture that I'm in that I believe has the potential to be $1 billion in real estate.
Yeah, well, I love it, man. Make sure I'm involved in that deal too. Don't.
No, you're a journalist. You got to.
Give me the deal, but afterwards we got to talk, right? But listen, man, Financial Literacy Month, and I'll let you go because you're busy, John. You're CEO. You go hop on a plane. You're going back home to Atlanta. I know that fancy car you got. You want to drive it around the track.
I don't get a chance to drive it that much, unfortunately.
Listen, anytime you want to let me hold it too, just ship it right up there, man. But Financial Literacy Month, man, I remember me and you, I wanted to bring this particular subject to this very show, but me and you were texting, and I had sent you an article about, you know, what they were doing in Finland. Yeah. And, you know, the headline read, Finland fuels children's future with financial literacy and food. Finland aims to be the #1 country in the world by 2030 in financial literacy. And what they're doing over there is phenomenal. They're turning warehouses and creating mock marketplaces and allowing kids to go in there and being entrepreneurs, owning stores, civil service, real life situations. And I took a quote from a 14-year-old girl in that article, right, from the Financial Times, and it says, That program in Finland, it helps us learn about the environment we're living in. It prepares us for life as an adult. I used to be in school in the U.S. before, and we learned a lot less of this stuff. And she's talking about financial literacy and how they are not teaching it as much. Now, in the U.S., you know, there are about 35 or so schools that do implement financial literacy. States that do implement that. But when you look at the landscape as a whole, what still needs to be addressed when we talk about financial literacy today in this country?
Financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation. It's as important as the right to vote was in 1960. Financial literacy and credit scores are as important as a 4-year college education degree and a career. And I believe you're going to see a renaissance, a revolution of values in the next 5 years around financial literacy and AI literacy, artificial intelligence. We haven't had a chance to talk about that, but I'm co-chair of Financial Literacy for All with Doug McMillan, and by the way, all of the sports organizations, Rob at Major League Baseball, Adam Silver, NBA, Roger Goodell at NFL, the Major League Soccer, hockey, they're all involved with Financial Literacy for All and Green Sox Day, which we're going to be doing. But I'm also co-chair of AI Ethics Council with Sam Altman, who I think is the Steve Jobs of this generation, in the AI LP3, which is a farm club, a pipeline in Atlanta from kindergarten all the way up through college of AI talent. Don't just wait for the jobs to be taken from our community. Be creative and create the jobs and the opportunity that AI is going to manifest by 2030. And so Atlanta is a model for this. You know, Atlanta's economy is as big as Singapore. I was in Singapore 2 weeks ago speaking, and in Singapore, 90% they have a 90% home ownership rate in Singapore. And I think that we're going to model that in Atlanta, where every kid has a bank account. Right now, every kid in kindergarten has a Hope Child savings account, thanks to Andre Dickens, the mayor. And we're going to connect that. Studies have shown that if a kid has a savings account in kindergarten, they're 25% more likely to go to college.
Is that what you would advise parents nowadays? Listen, open a savings account for your child immediately.
Yes, I'd go one step further. I'd say open a stock account. You can get a fractional stock account.
Uniform style. I did that for my kid. Yes.
You can buy fractional shares.
Yes.
You can get a stock certificate. Buy one share. I think the company's called Buy a Share, and you can buy one share for their birthday, whatever, Christmas. Put it on the wall. Share of whatever, Coca-Cola. Share of whatever you love on the wall. And once that kid has that share, they get access to all the financial records for that company. People don't know that. One share gives you access to all financial records. But what it does is it enrolls the kid in thinking about free enterprise. If you have a few $100 in that child's savings account, they're 75% more likely to graduate from college, because now you're connecting education with aspiration. So we have an account. Lance Triggs runs this as well, for every kid in Atlanta Public Schools with Andre Dickens and the Atlanta Public Schools, Dr. Johnson. But now we're going to connect financial literacy and AI literacy onto that, and I think it's going to create a super highway of economic opportunity for all, and I think that's going to become a national model. Dr. Bernice King, Dr. King's daughter, and I are launching the 100th anniversary project for her father, tied to having 100 cities, having 100 bank accounts. We're excited about that. I'm meeting with Secretary of the Treasury, the new Secretary of the Treasury, Scott, I call him Besant French, but
Bessett.
Scott Bessett, who is somebody I can work with. And his suggestion for the part of the agenda was financial literacy.
So this new administration is taking financial literacy seriously.
I'll let you know after the meeting. Yeah. But he is interested, and I'm interested in having this embedded as legislation. As you know, I and Operation Hope were responsible for financial literacy becoming the policy of the U.S. federal government under George Bush and under Obama, but it was unfunded. It was only tied to the federal government. I learned a lot of lessons about the power of money. School districts are businesses. You cannot have an unfunded mandate, expect them to do it. They need to have funding to push that curriculum. So we want Congress to codify legislation K through college, at least K through high school, mandating financial literacy education. I think that's like putting a plug into the socket in the wall. I think the kids will now connect education, aspiration. You then tie that to Hope Business in the Box academies, like they're doing in Europe, where your kids are now starting businesses at a young age, opening a bank account, having a stock account, trading stocks. Now all of a sudden
Real life
they're
situation.
real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you can tell, I'm excited.
Yeah, I thought that article was brilliant. I mean, listen, what they're doing overseas, a lot of this, financial literacy, first of all, is a global issue. Every country is trying to solve it, and everybody is obviously attacking it. So it's good to see that Finland's taking that step up.
And isn't it interesting that this is the one thing that is not a fight with this administration?
No.
I mean, I've talked a lot of mess, as you know. I don't intentionally do it. I just speak my mind. No one's attacked me. I mean, I've asked, like, why? They say, well, we see you're a capitalist. Like, we see you're using the free enterprise system. And by the way, the math makes sense. This other stuff is being politicized, is being gamed.
All theatrics.
It's theatrics.
Yeah,
exactly that. And I just try to keep it very simple. And again, as you know, I like math. It doesn't have an opinion. That's a Melody Hobson quote.
Yeah, I love it.
Aerial Capital Management.
Yeah. We'll get you out of here on some math, man, because, again, you're a CEO. I know you got to go, man. Again, always appreciate you taking the time to come up here to talk business and talk life. It's always good to see you. You're probably one of the frequent guests. You're my only frequent guest.
Really?
Yeah, man, because, we should start our own show. No. We'll go for hours.
Your ratings would crater with me on your show on a regular
I think
basis.
they would go spike, man. You crazy.
But let me tell you, we've gone from civil rights to civil rights. Civil rights in the streets in the 60s.
Yeah.
To now civil rights in the suites. And this is appropriate that you now are doing this show and Forbes is giving this platform and you're at Nasdaq and we're talking about money and markets. I think that the history is going to serve you well. I think that this Forbes Black 50 list that you did is signature. I think your work that you did to highlight Junior Bridgman before he passed away, God rest his soul, put him on the cover. I mean, what an honor for his family and his legacy. But he earned it from nothing, an okay basketball career monetarily, but to a billion-dollar platform businessman that we should honor. We honor rappers and celebrities and whatever, but we don't honor our business elite. And that's something everybody can do. Everybody can't be T.I., my friend, or Killer Mike, my friend, or people we know in entertainment. That's one of them. You can't be Oprah. But you can be Jabari Young, you can be Hope Bryant, you can be Robert Smith, you can be Don Peoples. These are scalable models in the biggest economy in the world. And this country cannot continue to succeed for the next 20 years without the least of these God's children. Black and brown people are now essential for the future success of the largest economy in the world and the sole superpower in the world. That's not my opinion. There's just not enough college-educated, successful white men to go around. If we leave it just to white men to run the economy, we'll be speaking Mandarin in 20 years. We need blacks and browns and women and Asians. Everybody's got to be rowing this boat, and that's a beautiful thing. And so I honor what you have done here. It is really important.
I appreciate it, man. Well, listen. I think we know you're a millionaire, right? You said it. You just tossed $3 million in the stock market. So, but let's go from 2021, right? After that deal, after the transaction went through, that $1 million.
My brother keeps trying to get my net worth out of me.
I'll get you one day. That $1 million, right? After 2021, right? What's the first thing you did? Spend that first $1 million after you received the final transaction figure that you have for Promise Hope.
You know what? No one's ever asked me this question before. This is why you're a great journalist. There's several questions no one's ever asked me before. No one's ever asked me that question. Well, Lance Triggs is here somewhere. He's one of my senior executives at Operation Hope. I took $1 million and I gave it to my employees at Operation Hope. Not all my employees, but the folks who will ride or die for me.
Yeah.
I've never said this on an interview before, but there is a senior team. I call them my Special Forces team, and about 20 of them. I have 400 employees. Who I call them at 2 in the morning. I call them on Saturday. I call them on the weekends. They always answer the phone. It's always yes. Lance Triggs, Mary Airsom, Janae Roscoe, Rachel Doff, Rob McGrew, all these heroes and sheroes, Kevin Boucher, et cetera, Tina Fair, my assistant, and Sir James. And they don't get any sunshine, don't get any light. And because they work for a nonprofit, all they get is a salary. They get no bonus. You get no stock. So I took my first $1 million and I snuck around to figure out what was Lance Trigg's favorite car. It was a Porsche 911. I asked what was Rachel Doss's favorite car. It was a Raptor, Ford Raptor. What was Mary Airsome's favorite car? It was a white Mercedes SUV, I think it was. And Janae Roscoe, it was a little Mini Cooper. And I went and bought the cars.
Oprah style.
And then I gave them a stock portfolio for a rainy day. I gave them a little rainy day fund, a stock portfolio in the car. And then we unveiled it all. I told them to come to a meeting at the house. I told them the head of state was coming, so they had to come there at a certain time. And they had to be inside, otherwise Secret Service would shoot them, which allowed us to then put the cars outside. That was a very special moment, and I wanted to share my upside with them, and they wouldn't have gotten it from their nonprofit efforts, so I took it from my for-profit efforts.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it teaches me two things. A, I need to maybe work for you one day. That's number one. And then B, man, that there are still great, generous bosses around that does not mind doing stuff like that. And that's
well, and by the way, you mentioned Oprah. I got that idea from Oprah, full credit. She's a nice lady, by the way. Just traded notes with her a couple weeks ago.
I can't wait to meet her.
She's good people. She was, by the way, put her on the list.
Yeah.
And I emailed her to congratulate her, and she was so excited. She's like,
Forbes has a black. Text, I was excited. I'm like, oh, what's up there? Hey, man, get you out of here on this good to great, right? Because we're going to have you back, so we'll get all to the other stuff later. But in 2025, there are a lot of people that may lose their jobs, and so they may find themselves having to be entrepreneurs. And maybe this is the opportunity that they needed for them to jumpstart being an entrepreneur. So in 2025, what is the difference between a good entrepreneur and a great one?
Somebody who gets up early, stays up late, works harder, doubles down, is hooked on excellence, not perfection, who is resilient, who never gives up, never gives in, who is absolutely obsessed with finishing the race and being a credit to their race. And if you do those things and you have that attitude, you can't help but win. Most people are just lazy, Jabari. I mean, love is work. Non-love is laziness, anti-love is evil. Evil exists, but it's very rare. Most people are just lazy. Yeah. Intellectually lazy, physically lazy, financially lazy, spiritually lazy. They don't want to do the work. They want somebody else to do it for them. And so anybody who's willing to do the work, whatever you love is going to drive you crazy. You love your husband, wife, kids, job, career. It's going to drive you crazy. It's going to exhaust you. Love is work. Only in the dictionary does the word success come before the word work because it's alphabetical. So you got to do the work. You got to be committed to it. You do the work. We talk all times of day, night, weekends, weekends, and you got to be obsessed with excellence. And if you do that, the haters will make you better. Rainbows only follow storms. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. These problems in society, and there's lots of them. Anybody awake today, you're not bored. I mean, people reading the Constitution, Bill of Rights, first time, like, whoa, what's this about an executive order, right? I mean, people are interested in civics. There are so many opportunities that are going to come out of this disruption. Be focused on maximizing or trying to figure out how to turn that disruption into a business opportunity for yourself. They're everywhere. Artificial intelligence is going to change everything. Like literally everything. AI in furniture, AI in suits, AI in video photography, I mean, it's going to change whatever you're interested in. AI in sports. Obsess about that, become the best at that, become the GOAT at that, and then you won't be denied.
Yeah, love it, man. What a way to drop the mic. John Hope Bryant, Financial Literacy Month 2025. I love Financial Literacy Month, but listen, as my producer said, every time this show comes on is financial literacy. So financial literacy based show. So well,
and I want to invite everybody to put on a green sock.
That's right.
April 30th, is Green Socks Day in the nation.
That's right.
Walmart's making the socks.
Yep.
And all the sports teams, the sports organizations have signed on to support this. NFL, NBA, soccer, football, baseball, hockey, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to try to get WNBA as well. And all I want you to do is do something for financial literacy on April 30th, put on a green sock, tag it Green Socks Day, and post it. And Nasdaq, you can't make this up, coincidence, it's got a way of staying anonymous, an Andrew Young quote, Nasdaq's going to put it on the big board. The best post on April 30th.
There you go.
Nasdaq's going to feature.
Yeah, and you see all people's feet in socks right on the big board. Man.
Yeah, make sure you have your socks on. I want to see your feet.
That's right. I want to see your feet. I want to see your feet. John Hope Bryant, Financial Literacy Month 2025. Nasdaq Enterprise Zone. Thanks for watching.